Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the WellPoint Studios here in downtown Lowell on this rainy Thursday morning, very rainy Thursday morning, May 30th. WellPoint, formerly Unicare, that's now known as WellPoint's new name, but same commitment to Massachusetts and to its members at WellPoint. Your whole health is their whole point. We thank them for helping to make this podcast possible. I want to thank all of our podcast sponsors as well. Of course, our friends at the Washington Savings Bank. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, the newest member of the Inside Lowell family, from luxurious to affordable apartments for all. Thank you as well to Boston North Company, Restaurant and Retail Solutions for your business. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and security to Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire for nearly a century. Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell trusts for over 4 decades. And last but not least, our friends at the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Tsongas Center in Lowell. And with that, I want to bring in my guest for today's podcast. He is from the Hidden Battles organization, which a couple of years ago, you were the hot new organization in the area, working for a very important cause. And you may not be as new anymore, but still red hot. You got a lot of stuff going on. Scott Hyder is with us here.
Thanks,
Scott,
Teddy.
how are you, man?
I'm good. I think like we were the young hot thing, but now we're just a little older, seasoned. But I think we are the go-to thing at this point.
You most certainly are, and thank you for that segue
that.
because you're here to talk about an upcoming event when the City of Lowell decided they wanted to hold kind of a celebration of military service. Naturally, you and your organization were the people they turned to. Before we talk a little bit about this celebration of military service on June 8th, tell folks a little bit about Hidden Battles. May not be familiar with the work you do and who you're doing it to help.
So we are a local nonprofit. We're actually a component fund of the Greater Lowell Community Foundation. We actually started off as, we started small. Our vision was really small, but we thought we were going to be a scholarship program for my brother, Nicky, who was a corrections officer who had taken his life by suicide. So we said, let's do something. We're going to honor him, and we'll do a scholarship. So what happened was we had put our idea out there. We went to the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, pitched our idea. They were like, oh, yeah, we deal with scholarships, and I think that this would be good. So we assigned on with them. Instantly, money started coming to us because at the time, nobody was taking care of veterans and first responders. And we're unique because we take care of dispatch all the way to trauma medical staff. So if you get hurt and you call 911, all the way to when you get to the ER, we take care of those people. And we also take care of veterans because there's a large percentage of veterans that continue public service when they leave the military. They become cops and firemen and EMTs and doctors and nurses. So.
And I think that's one of the I don't want to say misconceptions or confusing things. A lot of folks kind of look at Hidden Battles and they instantly think military, but you're so much more than that. You mentioned your brother, kind of the inspiration for this corrections officer. And, the trauma that folks deal with in all these jobs, whether you're police, fire, ambulance, whatever, and military, a lot of it is very similar, and it starts to manifest itself in similar ways, regardless of what your background is, right?
It is. No, it is. It's a different theater, same actors. Because of the fact that you think you have our dispatchers who don't necessarily see the trauma, but they hear the trauma. They're the ones working with somebody, instructing them how to give CPR to a loved one, right? Or you have the police officer who shows up at scene on first, and then the firefighters, the EMTs, paramedics. And then people forget the nurses, but the nurses are the ones that are taking care of these people as they're coming in. And since we're all community-based, which is Hidden Battles community-based, and we serve Merrimack Valley and Southern New Hampshire, we're taking care of our neighbors. We're taking care of our loved ones. I mean, you can't go to Lowell General and not see somebody in the ER that you know. Of course. And that goes for the nurses, right? So when we started, and like a little backtrack, I'm a 10-year Army veteran. I'm a disabled veteran, but I'm also a retired police officer. And seeing, the trauma that I saw, or accompanying somebody to the ER or whatever, I would see people that I see in traffic, or maybe stop for speeding, but you see these people and they're your neighbors, and firefighters are working on their neighbors. They're working on Mrs. Smith, who was their teacher growing up. So a lot of people don't understand it's hard to process that trauma. But to backtrack, when the money started coming in, we started to think, well, we can fund programs. And the programs we started to do, we started to mimic a lot of the VA programs. But because the VA is specifically for veterans, it was a huge market of people that were not being helped. So dealing with a lot of post-traumatic stress and depression that I had acquired over my 30 years of wearing military and police uniforms, I said, well, why don't we do this and invite our local heroes in? You know, like I said, the EMTs, the fire, the police, and the nurses to these programs, because they're working for veterans. And it's the same trauma, just a different, you know, theater of hate in a sense. So,
and you mentioned that you started small. You're still small. All these years. It's mostly you and your wife Leslie, who we always say is the brains behind the
absolutely.
operation. You're the first one to say that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I will say it openly.
But that's intentional, because you know, as organizations grow, they start to take on a workforce, and that workforce actually takes the resources away from where it's intended to go.
So
you're not getting wealthy off this, right?
No, not at all. We lose. The joke is we lose money doing this, right?
Good. You're supposed to.
And exactly. And nobody's gaining monetarily from this. We're not. I think pizza, is the biggest thing that our staff gets. We do a big event. In our events, we do over 100 events a year, right? We serve over 1,600 local heroes and their family members a year. So small in size, but huge in impact, especially for this community, you know, which is what we need.
Yeah, and you mentioned those events. I knew it was a lot. I didn't realize you do over 100, but it could be anything from this major, you know, celebration of military service to you've had some cornhole tournaments and some other fun things that you've done.
We do art therapy. We do couples cooking classes. We do family reconnection weekends for camping, rock
stuff,
matches.
Right?
We hold every Tuesday night at the YMCA in Lowell, right? Thanks to Kevin Morrissey. We hold a hero support group. So that's open to any one of the people that we had mentioned, but it's also open to the family, because we've had spouses come in and say, this is what I'm dealing with my husband. And then we go, yeah, that's very common for us with, you know, post-traumatic stress or depression or, you know, trauma. These are some of the things and habits that we come up with. So they get validation. They're not just thinking that they're crazy. And then a lot of the veterans and first responders and whoever's impacted by, even the normal person doesn't realize that their post-traumatic stress triggers certain things, depression, you know, and when we have our support groups, they come in and then we start to point these things out and people go, oh my God, yeah, that is me. And that's what I'm doing. And we're like, that, my friend, is post-traumatic stress. And this is how we now deal with it now that we know you have it.
And I think the frequency of events is important, because as people start to deal with these issues, what they start to do is kind of shut out the outside world, right? Friends, family, people around you, and you're kind of suffering alone. But if you have a group that you know you can go to every week, it kind of gives you something to look forward to. I can't imagine what a tremendous benefit that is.
And to tell you what the amazing thing was like a lot of stuff that we've done and we've become successful in is really by accident. Was not that, but done by design. When we had first started, I was, and to sound selfish, the first time that we figured out that a lot of this stuff was working was, I was really suffering with depression, and I was on the like couch. I was not getting up. I wasn't doing anything. And the running joke is, I could clean a house and do laundry in an hour. And when I knew my wife was coming home from work and I was sitting around all day, and it wasn't I wasn't being lazy. I had no motivation to get off the couch. It was that bad. I could clean the whole house, and she would come home. She goes, wow, you were busy. I'm like, oh yeah. So if you want those tips, you know, info@hiddenbattlesfoundation.org, I will tell you how to clean your house in an hour.
Love it.
So what happened was I was really suffering, and my wife said, this is the time for you to do something. So I had reached out to an Army buddy of mine who was actually, he ran a couple gyms down in Baltimore, wicked fitness guy. And I said, hey, I'm struggling. And he said, well, you need to get off the couch. You got to start doing something. And at the time I had a neck injury, and he's like, your legs still work. Like, you got to do something. So I started to ruck, and I was living in Lowell, and I used to ruck the boulevard. And rucking is just a military term for backpack weight hiking, right? So I would walk, and I had my son, I would throw him in the stroller, and I would walk 6-7 miles, and I felt better. So I actually started putting out on Facebook, hey, I'm rucking. If anybody wants to join me, join me. And by 6 weeks, I had over 20 people joining me, because we're all suffering. And that's what we need. We need a community. And that's how it, in a sense, it happened by accident. But the more stuff we started to do, and like when we were new, we would go anywhere. Like somebody would go, oh, we have a car show. I'm like, hey, can I set up a tent and just let people know that we exist? So when we started to put out on our Facebook group, which has over 22,000 people following us, which is great, which means that there's a need for what we do. I would say, hey, I'm going to be at Heritage Farm Ice Cream on this night. It's a night that we're going to have a car show, and we'll be there. So come down and check us out. And we started to notice that people were coming with their families to get ice cream, and then sitting across the street at the pavilion. And next we're seeing like 5, 6 Hidden Battles families hanging out there. And we're like, wait, this is what we needed. We needed our community. We needed, our group of people who understand us and get our quirks and mannerisms and our language and dialect and, in our dark humor. And that was the by accident design that happened that made Hidden Battles so successful around here.
Well, most of the great inventions, I should say a lot of the great inventions throughout history came about by accident.
I like to say
doesn't make them any less neat.
The microwave oven was discovered by accident.
There was penicillin too.
Yeah,
I remember, right?
So hey, listen, it was needed. That's the way we look at it. But
we're chatting with Scott Hyder from the Hidden Battles Foundation. He's joining us here to talk about the first of what I think is going to be an annual event if you survive it intact. Celebration of Military Service, June 8th in Lowell. It's being put on in conjunction with Hidden Battles and the City of Lowell. So how did this small little organization that started by accident, as you tell us, end up hooking up with this huge organization known as the City of Lowell that was no accident?
So we've become kind of the go-to. If somebody has a question about anything military, a first responder, whether it's finance help or mental health, because we work with mental health and we're activity driven, and that's how we help with mental health. But we know we've been in the point where I've wanted to market and meet everybody that's out there, because I know that one of the biggest problems we have, because people say, what's the biggest problem veterans have? I'm like, information and education. That's it. We don't know what services are out there that can benefit us. If we have a need or something, there's an organization that's going to be out there to help us. And that's what's going to be great about this event. The city manager reached out to us because, we're friendly and we've made a good impact in the city. But he had reached out to us and said, this is what my idea is. He says, I want to have a celebration of military service. I don't want it on Veterans Day. I don't want it on Flag Day. I don't want it on Memorial Day, 4th of July. I want it to be a day specifically for them. And what can we do? And he says, what is the biggest thing they need? And I told him, I said, they need to know who's out there. So he said, well, can I task you to get those organizations there? And I said, absolutely. So I went through all my contacts of all the organizations that I've worked with over the past 7 years. And as of right now, we have about 35 veteran service, and these are local veteran service organizations. Some of them, we have the Executive Office of Veteran Services from Massachusetts are coming up. They're going to talk about programs, benefits that you have, and like we talked about offline, a global war on terror veterans that live in Massachusetts, they get a one-time payout. Thank you for your service, and that's, I don't know specifically how much it is, but anything helps, right? You can go there and talk about education. I know I have a daughter in college. You can actually roll your GI Bill into one of your siblings or one of your children's education fund. So now that's going to help you. So that we have organizations that are going to come out. We have a couple of financial institutions that's going to come out, and they're going to talk about veterans loans for houses, right? Because it benefits them. We have a detox center coming out. Harbor Care out of New Hampshire. They're out of Nashua, which is this area. They help with residential. They help with suicide prevention, food, paying bills when it comes to your house, stuff like that. Veterans Northeast Veterans, it's VNOC, Veterans Northeast Outreach Center, who also does that. They help with housing. They have temporary housing, and then they have permanent housing. So we have them. Strongwater out of Tewksbury, Equine Center's coming out. They're going to talk about their programs that they have. And these are partners of ours. I mean, it's actually great. Home Base is coming up from Boston to talk about what they do. And if you're not familiar with them, they're part of the Boston Red Sox Foundation. They're funded by Harvard University and Mass General Hospital, and they deal with post-traumatic stress. I mean, these aren't like, Hidden Battles. Like, these are big organizations that do a lot of stuff with big budgets. And it's what we need. You're going to find anything from, like I said, help with food, to help with finance. Some things you don't know that you need help with. You're like, wait, I can get help with that?
Yeah, actually, a lot of this stuff is not common knowledge, and it's not exactly like some like the U.S. government is,
Yeah.
or even the state, if they offer some of these,
Yeah.
they're not reaching out to folks.
No.
If you learn about them, you boom, you're happy to provide the service or the financial support, but you have to learn about it. And it sounds like this is kind of like a one-stop shopping event for folks to find out what exactly are the resources out there.
So the resources that we're trying to get out there to let people know is everybody's struggling now, right? But I think when you do serve your nation, you should get more, right? It's the way I am. I might be biased because I'm a veteran, but mass hire is coming out. For instance, mass hire is coming out. And if you are a disabled veteran, mass hire will actually help your spouse get a job. Right. So you qualify for these programs that people don't know about because nobody's knocking on veterans'
Not
doors.
just the veteran, but the
Not
spouse
just the veteran,
as well?
but the spouse.
Okay.
So they're not knocking on your door saying, oh, you're a veteran? Oh, hey, and letting you know everything that exists. So this event is realistically for everybody to find out what they're entitled to, programs that may benefit them, and increase the quality of life for them. You know, whether, like I said, whether it's for food or it's for housing or financial help with housing, or to refinance your house at a lower mortgage rate so you can actually live a little better. Or if it's the VA coming and talking about healthcare, the VA healthcare has completely changed. It's not what it used to be, you know, and this is what people need to find out. They need to find out, you know, from local VSOs like Eric Lamash and Lowell to find out what you're entitled to.
So the educational components, reason enough for anybody who has served or is serving to get on out there. Of course, how you draw in everybody else to help support and contribute is you put on some fun components during this celebration. And man, you've got them all. The first one that jumps out to me is the free hot dogs, burgers, and water to boot.
So we actually,
you might see me there just for that.
So Hidden Battles is actually we're going to host and we're donating the hamburgers and hot dogs for the day. So it is free for our veterans and their family members to come and eat. We're starting off with a 5K. We actually have a race, and it's, I guess, Shed Park, where it's actually going to be, has a cross-country trail that the high school and the middle school run. So we're going to do that. But because we're military and we favor military a lot, and even law enforcement, and I know that the City of Lowell Fire Department does a weekly ruck too. So we have a ruck component. So you can ruck the thing, and it's a timed event, and there'll be awards given out at the end. However, we're going to draw some people in with that, but we have the free food. We have live music. We're going to have some amazing live music. We have Tyler Levs. This kid's amazing. I don't know how he's not nationally, like he's well known around here, but I don't know how he's not nationally famous. Like he's really good. He's a local kid. Eric Lamash, the VSO from Lowell, he's going to be playing. And we're going to have two different stages where one will play, and then when they take a break, another one will play. So there'll be no relaxation in music as far as that goes. Like everybody will get to hear some music. But this is not a flea market. This is a informational summit for people to get out, know what services are out there for them, and just to get more engaged in the community and find out what you're entitled to.
So Saturday, June 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's actually a pretty short window as well. You didn't want it to drag on too long.
The thing is I don't want to take up everybody's Saturdays, especially we have schools are ending and people starting to get busy with, you know, there's tournaments for track and everything else. So we wanted to get that 4-hour block in there, try to cram as much in because we know people are busy, you know, and then hopefully they'll gain a lot of information. They'll know what there is. They'll get more engaged in the community, find out what services are out there for them.
And the location, Shed Park.
Shed Park.
Beautiful location. Just hosted a baseball tournament with people coming from all over. How do folks, you want folks obviously to register ahead of time for the road races? Should they register ahead of time for the event in general?
So there is no registration for the event, but for the road race there is. Yeah, for the road race, you can go to our Facebook page, the Hidden Battles Facebook page, or you can go to, I believe it's on our webpage, hiddenbattlesfoundation.org.
All right. And there's also, let folks know about you do a weekly radio show.
Yep, we do. We have a weekly radio show on WSMN out of Nashua, where we do a lot of mental health stuff. There's some joking involved. We play music. We also have guests on that come in and talk about how they're impacting our local heroes and what programs that are out there. But yeah, it's good. We talk a lot about mental health stuff. In mental health stuff, there's a big misconception. Everybody thinks that mental health is strictly suicide, and it's not even close. Not even close. So that's kind of our thing. And we have a good following, and it's fun. If you want a good laugh, we can tune into.
You guys definitely throw on some fun events. One more time, Facebook page, web address, so people can learn more about your organization, not just for this celebration of military service on June 8th, but also the important work you do year round.
Yeah, so you can find us on all social media platforms. We're the Hidden Battles Foundation. We have the Hidden Battles Group, which is our local group that you can post all military or veteran-friendly events. It's your group to post stuff. We are on Instagram, hiddenbattlesfoundation.org. You can hear us live on WSMN.live on Monday nights and Wednesday nights. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
And the most important thing, if you are a first responder of any type, as you have laid out, or a military member or veteran, you can always reach out. There is always help available. You're a phenomenal resource, my friend.
Thank you.
So thank you for what you do out there.
Absolutely. Thanks.
All right. Scott Hyder, thanks for
you,
joining
Teddy.
us. Good luck on Saturday the 8th. I'll see you out there, okay?
Thank you. Yep, absolutely.
All right. And we thank Scott, and we thank you for joining us here as well on this Inside Lowell podcast. As we like to say, Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place. Till next time, be safe, everyone.